So I kind of came up with this idea. So thank you to Marla and Ryan for opening up Thrive for us to do this event, and also for getting behind this cause with me. And of course to Julie and her husband Scott for being here today. So I just want to thank you all for coming, especially all the young girls here today. I graduated from Madison in 2018, and I've done quite a bit of traveling since then, and I've witnessed and experienced a lot of situations, and dangerous situations in which these skills can really come in handy. I've actually taken probably at least 3 self-defense classes, probably over my college years, and it's just really good information to have, good knowledge to have, and good skills to have, especially as you guys, if you want to college or move to a big city, whatever it may be. So thank you all for being here, and I'll hand it over to Marla, and she's going to introduce Julie.
So I'm going to read it. You have a very nice bio, and I don't want to mess it up. So Julie, thank you for being here. Julie Brown is the owner of Empower Strategies and teaches self-defense to individuals, community groups, businesses, and schools. She has been teaching self-defense classes for 12 years and is a certified empowerment self-defense instructor through the National Women's Martial Arts Federation. She's a 4th degree black belt in karate and has trained for 15 years in karate and 4 years in Krav Maga. Julie worked with women and children survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault as a counselor and advocate for 10 years. After she began taking martial arts classes, she saw the empowering effects that learning self-defense can have and the practical benefits to help women live free from violence. She has also competed on the regional, national, and world levels in sport karate competitions and sparring forums, and was a 2-time gold medal winner at the WKC World Championships in 2019. So thank you so much for bringing all your education and knowledge to us, and we're ready to learn.
Okay.
Hi, thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much for the introduction. Thank you very much for Thrive for hosting this and letting us into space. Beautiful space. And also thank you to Kenzie and Rose from the foundation for doing this, both to a very important for a very valuable cause, and giving us the opportunity to come together and do this. So we're trying to kind of be socially distanced, and I'm asking everybody to wear a mask throughout the class. I know that the masks can be a real pain, and it's like, it's hard to read sometimes. If at any point you feel like you need to step out for a minute, just kind of take a breath, feel free to do that. If you want, we're going to be kind of sitting initially. If you want to find a space to sit, you're welcome to stand, whatever you feel comfortable with. We're going to be kind of doing a combination of both, doing a little bit of sitting, a little bit of standing, a little bit of moving around. So I won't spend a lot of time introducing myself since that's already been done. I did just want to introduce my husband Scott. So you'll see us doing some actual physical stuff. Since we don't have to be social distance from each other, we'll be able to demonstrate some of the things to you. If you are here with a family member or somebody that you're close to that you don't feel like you can't actually get close to, you'll be able to kind of practice some of the things in person that we're going over. If you don't have somebody that you're in that sort of situation with, we're just going to kind of be practicing things in the air. So I'm going to kind of leave it to you to judge what you feel safe with and what you feel comfortable with in terms of how we're doing that. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be doing something called empowerment self-defense. And that's a little bit different than sometimes what we think of traditionally as, actually I should say real quick, if you can't hear me because it's mask, please raise your hand. Can everybody hear me okay? Oh good, I'm trying to project, but if at some point.
Yeah, speak loud.
In my regular life, I tend to be kind of a little bit more sometimes. So when I'm presenting, I think, but if I'm not, please just raise your hand and I'll make sure I speak loudly. But empowerment self-defense is a little bit different than what we sometimes think of as traditional self-defense. A lot, especially we're all women here today, we're taking this class, so we'll be speaking to in terms of that. Women's self-defense is often historically been taught in a very fear-based sort of way. Like here are all these horrible things that can happen to you, and make sure you don't do this, make sure you don't do that, make sure you don't do this, make sure you don't do that. So it focuses on kind of reinforcing all the things we have to be concerned about and frightened about. Empowerment self-defense kind of takes that, flips it on its head, and says, you know what, especially as women, we know what all the concerns are, we know what the threats are. What can we do to feel empowered and feel like we have choices, we have options? There are things that we can do to keep ourselves safe, and then in fact, any of us learn ways that we can defend ourselves. You know, like my bio says, I have a lot of training in martial arts. You don't have to have years and years of training in martial arts to learn how to do things to be able to defend yourself. So even if you've never had any sort of training, or you've never had any sort of self-defense classes or anything like that before, you'll still leave today with some thoughts, some ideas, some resources, some principle of empowerment self-defense. A couple of, I guess, guidelines as we start the class. Pull that down a little bit. Again, keep your mask on. If you do feel like you need to step out, feel free to step out for a second, catch a breath of air. One of my rules, I really encourage you to ask any questions you have at any time about anything. No bad questions. So please feel free, anytime if we're practicing something and it's not working or it doesn't make sense to you, or we're talking about something, you're like, wait, what about this? Please feel free to ask any questions that you might have. Some of the things that we have about today might be a little unsettling, a little uncomfortable, might make you feel a little bit uncomfortable, particularly if you've ever had any experiences yourself of anything bad happening, or know somebody with something bad has happened. If there's anything that you feel like, you know, this is just a little bit too much, either I need to step out for a little bit, just that's fine, you know, go to the bathroom, go somewhere outside, whatever. You need to take a break, you know what you feel safe with, you're welcome to do that, and I encourage you to do that. If there's anything today that you're practicing, that you're like, you know what, this just doesn't feel okay. Maybe we are in the program or practicing like choke defense or something like that. If that just really doesn't feel comfortable to you, you don't have to do that. You are welcome to say no. In fact, that's one of our sort of guidelines and basis of defense. You always have the right to say no anytime something doesn't feel comfortable to you. That being said, we are going to do some things that if you've never done anything like this before, might feel a little weird. It might feel a little bit uncomfortable to you at first. You might be like, I can't do that. That's just weird. I still would encourage you to try it. And there's a difference between not feeling safe and just not feeling very comfortable. So if you don't feel safe, I want you to take care of yourself. But if something feels a little bit uncomfortable, I want you to kind of challenge yourself to just sort of see if you can develop a little bit of comfort with something that you haven't experienced before. I will also be available after class. If there are questions that you have or concerns that you have, then maybe you don't feel comfortable bringing it up in front of everybody. I'll be available after class if you want to come and talk to me after class. I'll be here for a little while afterwards, or there's also my calendars up front. If you want to email me or call me with any questions or anything like that, you can certainly do all right, that's kind of my guideline. Right, so, I got the hammer going on.
It's gonna get loud here, especially when the AC goes on too. So we gotta the big voice on if it starts going. So I'll just play it.
So by way of a quick introductory exercise, and I'm going to get moving just a little bit. So I want you to just go around just real quickly, say just your name, and I will probably forget it because I'm horrible with names, but if you could just say your name, and share just one thing that you do already in your daily life to protect yourself, or to avoid something bad happening to you. Because again, like I said, I think as women, we already know what some of the threats are, we know what some of the dangers are in the world, and we already do a lot of things in our daily lives to keep ourselves safe. So, and we're just going to go around. If somebody took your answer, that's okay. You can say, oh, my answer is this. That's fine. Somebody took your answer, that you can use that answer again. But we're just going to kind of make a little bit of note of some of the things that we already do in our daily lives to keep ourselves safe. I'll go first. Again, my name is Julie, and one of the things that I do in my day-to-day life to keep myself safe is when I walk in my car, I always make sure that I have my keys out first. Okay? So instead of like getting in my car and fumbling with my keys. So that's just kind of do what we do. All right, where do we want to start?
I can start since.
Okay, awesome.
So I'm Mackenzie. Something that I always do is I make sure whenever I'm out walking in public, I'm not texting on my phone. And that's one of the many ways that you can kind of be sucked into situations you don't want to be in. So I always make sure I have my phone in my pocket and I'm aware of my surroundings.
We're gonna talk. All right.
I'm Christy, and I would say that I try to be watching where I'm going, what's going on in my surroundings, kind of always doing a little scan, like at my particular. I'm Teresa, and I'd say similar to Christy Mackenzie's, when I go on trails for lighting, that I have the radar of being a distance away from people, because, not but just because of I'm not right, but just keeping my distance, and literally the radar that I feel like is on all the time. I'm always thinking something really bad could be happening, and I always know.
I'm Marla, and I do go out running or out with the kids, and so I feel like that makes me vulnerable, like a mom for kids, easy target. So I always let someone know where I'm at, where I'm gonna be, just so, share whatever.
Hi, I'm Bridget. I have two adorable little dogs that I walk all the time. I always carry a chain with spray and a massage.
Crazy streets are really nice. My name is Stephanie, and I also carry around mace, and I also carry around this microphone. Just because someone approached me, hit it.
My name is Anna Maria, and I always make sure, like, especially when I'm walking alone at night, or even during the day, I always just make sure someone's with me, so I'm not alone, and in case I need help, I have somebody else with me.
My name's Elle, and I always like tell my parents where I'm going and make sure they have my location when I go.
Yeah, location unknown.
Hi, my name's Jade, and mine always has like parallels. Always tell my parents where I'm at. My mom always texts me every time. Yes, Mom.
I'm Olivia, and I always make sure that I'm not walking alone in the dark.
I'm Monica. A lot of the stuff I think about that I did in college, we carried, right, pepper spray, all this stuff, and kind of as an adult, you get more comfortable. But I always think of that, and again, we're with her. But yeah, always watchful of surroundings, you know, making sure, I don't like to be out a lot anymore in the dark, like by yourself, so some of those things.
I am Jill, and I'm gonna take what you said one step further. I am a prime target because I don't do any of the things that I am, there's a couple people here who could probably verify this, but I'm like a walking train wreck. So, hearing all these things is kind of waking me up that, yes, I need to do these things. So if anybody knows of anybody, don't send them my way. But yeah, so I need help.
I'm Diane, I'm a mother.
Now she's fully worried about.
So what I usually do, when I get out of town, especially, I get one of those alarms on a keychain, so if somebody comes, I can just zip it out and blast the big alarm. But if I'm out running or walking, I do take my phone for an emergency.
I'm Charlie, and I carry pepper spray on my keychain, and I always check under my car before I go to get into my car.
And then you two want to go too, if you want. You don't have to, you're good? My daughter, so we
My daughter,
Anytime you want to jump in, you jump in, if you want to hang out out there, that's cool too, whatever you're comfortable with. All right, anyways,
I'm Michelle, and I do quite a few of those things, but the one thing I always have my phone when I'm going anywhere, but as soon as I get in the car, I lock the door immediately. I look behind the car at the back seat and I lock the door, or as soon as I get in the house, I lock the door behind me.
I'm Abby, and I think I do some of those things, but one of the things, I'm gonna give Thrive credit. I've been working out with Ryan and Dave to make myself better. So if I ever get in a situation, I might be stronger or something.
Great. Okay, I think we got everybody, right? Awesome. All right, well, this is a great list of things that everybody's doing already on a daily basis to keep themselves safe. And the reason that I started off with this is a couple things. Number one, just to kind of brainstorm a little bit in a quick way about what are some of the safety tools that we can take advantage of, that we can do in our daily life. But also to kind of point out how much time as women, especially how much time we spend thinking about all this. Like there are things that we already do on a daily basis. We do these things. To some degree or another, unless someone's not. But for the most part, we're already thinking about all these things. We modify our lives. We don't go out after dark. We don't go by ourselves. We modify how we live our lives because of the fears that we have. They've done this exercise in different scenarios. Like I was asking, gentlemen who were here, when they ask guys the same question, guys will often say, like they usually, the women will come up with a whole big long list of things that they do to keep themselves safe. Guys have like maybe one or two things. I actually was asking Scott, kind of use it as an example. The other day I asked him, what do you do on a daily basis to keep yourself safe? And he knows a lot of this stuff. And he started rattling off all my bullet points. And I'm like, what do you do on a daily basis to protect yourself? He's like, well, I'm real careful about my passwords and things like that. Okay, yeah, but that's a different kind of safety. You know, for him, his first thought about safety was protecting my information, my data, my identity, technology online, which is a concern. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But it's a different kind of safety than what we as women think about just kind of on a daily basis. So, and all of these things are good and important things. One thing that I just might ask real quick about the folks that carry pepper spray or mace or would spray that, have you all had to use it? Have you all practiced using it? Yeah, right, so, okay, good, all right. That's because a lot of times I know people who say, oh, I carry pepper spray, I carry mace. I'm like, great, have you ever practiced using it? No. Okay. Well, think about it. If you do decide to carry pepper spray or mace, what I would just say to you is make sure you know how to use it. Too often I've talked with women or young women who carry it and have never ever used it, never practiced using it, have no idea how it actually works. In a moment of panic, let's say it's on your keychain. In a moment of panic, if it, like one of the things that I said when I always make sure that my keys are with me, so I'm not fumbling in my purse in my pocket getting out. Something happens, you're walking to the car, you have to get to your keys, all right, you're already at a loss there. Then you have to find your mace, all right, then you have to push the button, you have to do all of that in a moment of panic. Your fine motor skills decrease in moments of panic, all right, we have to rely on big movements at times like that. If you need to manipulate a little thing, get out your key, push a little button and all that, if you're not already ready to go, it's not going to happen, okay? And you wear a mace or pepper spray, that is a weapon. Just like you wouldn't carry a gun and not be trained in how to use it. Because then your attacker could take that gun and use it against you. Same thing with mace or pepper spray. It is a weapon. You're choosing to carry a weapon with you. So be aware that if you don't know how to use it, your attacker will potentially get it and use it against you. Also, just a couple of things about pepper spray, how they work. Who has like the aerosol and spray? Yeah, like spray. Does anybody have like the gel? So there are different kinds of pepper spray or mace. Most of them are kind of traditional, like a spray of now, spraying perfume or something like that. It sends out like an aerosol. The danger with that, the risks of that, if I was outside on daylight today, it's a little blustery out there, it's a little windy out there. He's the attacker guy, and I spray a mace at him here, and the wind is blowing this way, I've just got myself. All right? Or let's say we're in a closed space. Okay, has anybody ever had been maced or pepper spray? I have not either, but apparently it's what I understand is horrible. But if you're in an enclosed space, like an elevator or a stairwell, or just even a small room, and you spray that stuff, you've got yourself. If you're, even if you're in a big room and I spray here, but the door is there, now I have to go through the mace with pepper spray to get to my exit. So it's not to say don't carry mace or don't carry pepper spray, but just be, if you do carry those as a way to defend yourself, be aware of, first of all, practice using them. It sounds like people in your head, which is great. You want to know how far, if I squirt it, how far is it going to go? Is it going to go, can I be this close to use it? Or can I be this close to use it? What's the range of it? How far is it going to go? So these are all just the sorts of things that you want to know for using that. All right. Okay, so we're going to start moving just a little bit. So I just want you to make sure that you have just a little bit of space to move, not huge. We're not going to be running around or anything like that. But just a little bit of space to move. We're going to start off just with kind of just stretches a little bit to get our muscles kind of moving just a little bit. We're not going to do anything physical today that is like super rigorous or challenging or anything like that. However, if you do have any physical limitations, a shoulder injury or neck or back or knee, or if there's some physical limitation that you have, please do just alert me and I'll make sure that I give you alternatives to whatever we're doing. You had an excellent point about starting to get into fitness to make yourself stronger and better able to defend yourself. Of course, the benefits associated are in, the easier it might be to physically defend yourself, but that doesn't mean that you have to be in extraordinary physically great shape, and that's the only way you can defend yourself. You can be older, you can be out of shape, you can be smaller, you can be all these things that we might think of as a disadvantage, and still be able to do other stuff. However, that being said, if you get stronger, I'm all for that. All right, so first off, I'm just gonna kind of start doing some shoulder rolls. Back forward a little bit. We're gonna be moving some, so I just wanna make sure that we're stretched out a little bit. All right, and then roll forward. And then do some arm circles forward. Go ahead and do your good way to make sure we're socially distanced.
Yeah.
All right, and then back. And then just kind of roll your head a little bit in one direction. And then roll back the other direction. All right, okay, just gonna shake yourself out a little bit. All right, next thing I want you to do, I want you to put one hand on your tummy, one hand. We're just gonna take a few deep breaths, and as you're doing this, if you haven't done deep breathing before, what you want to focus on is you want to focus on air coming in. Oh, got these masks on. That's gonna happen to me a number of times today. I'm gonna be like, oh, the mask. But as you're doing it, what you want to focus on is you want to focus on your tummy moving instead of your chest moving. If when you take a deep breath, your chest is moving, you're taking shallow breaths. You want to take deep breaths so it's all the way down into your diaphragm. So you should do your tummy moving more than your chest. Okay. Why we're doing that is a couple of things. First off, to just get us kind of centered and kind of relax just a little bit, and to focus on our breathing. We want to be able to be in touch with our body, and we'll talk about that a lot today. Our body will give us a lot of clues about when we're not feeling safe, when we're not feeling comfortable, and that's really, really important. So as you're doing this, you're just going to feel, so kind of on your own, you're just going to take a nice deep breath, make sure your tummy's moving, and then back out. Breathe in. And back out. And just try to be kind of centered in your body a little bit. We want to be able to be focused on the strength of our body. We want to be able to be focused on our intuition. What makes us feel safe, what makes us feel comfortable. These are feelings that are really, really important. All right. Now, next thing I have to do, we're going to talk about a couple of different ways to stand. All right. First way that I'm going to ask you to stand is with your feet kind of apart. Hands are going to like this. All right. This is what we call a power stance. All right. We're taking up space and stand like this. This is done studies on body language at Harvard School of Business. And this conveys power, conveys authority, conveys confidence, right? Versus a position that is a lower power position where we've got legs in, arms crossed, shoulders down, head down, eyes down. That's a lower power position, right? We want to be comfortable with being in this kind of position. We have this kind of body language, shoulders back, head up, chin up, maybe not as many people. They did studies around body language and they assessed, how do people perceive you? People perceive people who have this kind of body language to be confident, to be capable, to be strong, to be assertive. People have lower power body language to be not as confident, not as capable, to be insecure, to be more vulnerable. So we want to convey this. What they also found is that literally if you stand in a position like this, just for like 90 seconds, 2 minutes, it literally changes your body chemistry. It literally changes what's happening in your body. Your levels of testosterone, yes, we do all have testosterone, your levels of testosterone actually increase, and your levels of cortisol, which is a stress hormone, actually decrease. So they would recommend, like if you have a presentation or a job interview or a test or something you're nervous about, even just standing like this for 2 minutes ahead of time, just makes you feel stronger, makes you feel more confident. So we were talking, like you mentioned, being in a target. People who are looking for a target, looking for somebody who they might try to hurt, they might try to assault, they're looking for somebody that they think is going to be more vulnerable. So if you're walking on the street and you're walking with your eyes down, shoulders down, head down, in a lower power body position, you're more likely to be perceived as a target, versus if you're walking with confidence, a higher power body position, you're less likely to be targeted for something. So we're going to just kind of keep that in. Next stance that we're going to talk about is our ready stance. All right, what we're going to do, first of all, we're going to start just like this. Feet together, or feet just going to shoulder width apart, hands just out. This is just a natural stance. This is how we might just kind of naturally see it. A ready stance, we've got 1 foot back, doesn't matter which one, hands are. Right, this is our ready stance. When do you think we might use this? If somebody's coming at us, if we feel threatened in some way, shape, or form, okay? If I'm just out on the street, that's really nice guy, and this is my creepy guy. So, he's been a creepy guy for a long time. But if I'm just out someplace and, I see he's just there, I don't feel any particular reason to be threatened, but if he's done something that makes me feel uncomfortable, I might have to put myself in this position because then I'm ready. What is it about how my body is that makes me better able to protect myself?
Sturdier.
I'm sorry?
You're sturdier.
Sturdier, exactly. Excellent point. A lot of times people don't get that. So it seems like we would be sturdy this way, but we're actually sturdier with 1 foot back, 1 foot forward. Again, it doesn't matter which one. We all have one that feels kind of more natural, but you have a stronger base this way. So if I'm this way and somebody knocks me, it'd be easy for me to kind of lose my balance. If I'm based like this and somebody tries to push me, it's harder for me to lose my balance. All right. So I've already got myself based this way, harder for me to be knocked off balance. What else am I doing with my body that makes it easier to defend myself?
Your hands are ready in case someone's coming at you.
Perfect, my hands are ready. They're up. So if he tried to grab me or hit me or something like that, my hands are ready to defend myself. What am I communicating this way? Get away. Back up. Just reaper. I'm sorry?
I feel so sorry for him, he's labeled
Exactly. We're communicating, hey, stay back up. Without even saying anything, we're communicating that we want them to back up. Our hands are ready. If we have to defend ourselves, either if we have to strike or if we just have to protect ourselves, our hands are ready. We have a more solid base. What else about our body is a little bit different than something like this? Sideways. Like this, I'm completely vulnerable to whatever you might want to hit or strike or whatever. This way, I'm sideways. My vital parts of my body are more protected, more covered. It's harder for him to get to those parts of my body. All right. So this is what we think of as our ready stance. I'm not standing like this. All right. Why do you think I'm not standing like this?
We're looking for a fight.
Exactly. Think about what we're thinking. We're always communicating. We talked about communicating with our body language. We're always communicating with our body language. Communicating that I'm not saying things now. I'm communicating with you back up. But if I go here, then yes, I'm communicating, okay, I want to escalate things. Now I'm going to try to actually fight you. I don't want to fight you. The last thing I want to do is fight the bad guy, right? I don't care, even if I've had years of training, whatever, I feel like I can take him. That's not the issue. I do not want to get into a fight. I want to get out of it. That's my primary goal in any self-defense situation, is just to get out as fast as I can. All right, so I want you to go back to your natural stance. And then I just want you to grab back in your race stance. Why do I want to be careful, watch out, make sure there's nothing behind you. Why do I want to drop back in my race stance?
I want to reach forward to them, right?
Exactly, I just want to get closer to that back, right? So I was going to think about dropping back, creating space. That's one of my tools, one of my resources is to create space to that back. Right, so back to natural stance. And then I just drop back to race. Drop back to natural. And try both sides, kind of see, one side is probably going to feel a lot more comfortable than the other. You're right-handed, your right side is probably going to feel more comfortable in front, but not always. Everybody sort of has one side that feels more comfortable. All right. If we weren't worried about COVID and all that sort of thing, I would also have you right now kind of yell when we do this. We're going to skip the yelling. But in general, our voice is another one of those things that helps to keep us safe. If I was drop back in my right stance, I don't say anything, I communicate something. But if I drop back and I yell, stay away from me, then that communicates a whole different thing. So we want to make sure we're using our voice for that too. So now we're going to walk through kind of some basic striking techniques that we could use if you're in a situation where the bad guy was actually trying to grab us, something really, really bad happened. We're going to walk through some of those. I have a couple of pads here. Again, if you're partnered up with somebody who you feel like you could get close to and share a pad with, you're welcome. You might have to kind of rotate them around them. They do a sanitizer device if you want to work them off, you can do that. So otherwise, we'll just kind of do them into the air. So we're going to walk through a few different strikes, just kind of practice them a little bit. We're going to do a little bit more talking, and then we're going to get into scenarios. Oh, what if this happened with that? All right, any questions so far? Cool. All right, so let's do this. All right, so Scott's going to hold that. So the first one we're going to do is going to be called a poem. Actually, I forgot to ask at the beginning, has anybody ever taken like a take a self-defense class? Or self-defense class?
Yeah.
Anybody ever done any martial arts or anything? No? Oh, all right, cool. All right, so if you have taken a self-defense class, you might have seen some of this stuff before. The first one we're gonna do is called a palm heel. I mean, we're not gonna do like a direct punch today as a self-defense technique. It actually takes a little bit of time and a little bit of practice to get comfortable with a punch that you would be more likely to hurt them more than you would hurt yourself. It's really easy to punch me correctly and hurt your own self. Also, if I'm punching and I'm hitting like with my knuckles and I'm hitting on like I hit his head or hitting his jaw or something, that actually really smarts. So we want to work on hitting in ways that are less likely to hurt us, more likely to hurt him. All right, so the first one we're going to do, first one that we're going to do is going to be a palm heel. We're in our ready stance. Okay, we're always here. I'm not here. One thing I didn't mention about the ready stance, we're also able to get a lot more power when we strike. All right, kind of because of that base. All of our power, if people feel like we don't have a lot of upper body strength, I'm not very strong, I can't really do this. The power from all of our strikes does not come from having huge, big upper body strength. It comes from our hips. All right, we're putting our body into it. We're using our hips to get our power. That's where all of our power with all our strikes, that's where it's going to come from. I'm going to use my rear hand, okay, and I'm going to hit with the heel of my palm. I'm kind of pulling my fingers, my thumbs are back out of the way, otherwise it ends up just being kind of a head gate. I want it to be more of a strike here. If you pull that back, this part kind of stiffens up, becomes a little bit more firm. We're looking to hit soft parts of them, hard parts of us. All right? So that palm heel is going to go all the way through the pad in the neck. All right? Doesn't take a lot of strength. Again, all I'm doing, I'm just twisting using my hip to get into that, or all the way here. All right? What do you think would be some good targets if I was using that palm heel? Nose, perfect. Nose. Again, we're using hard parts of us to hit soft parts of them. Nose is really soft part. It doesn't matter how big and strong you are, nose is pretty weak and normal. If you've ever been popped in the nose, even just kind of, an accidental sort of thing, it hurts. And if you've ever really been hit in the nose, it hurts blindingly a lot. And it does not cause or take much to cause a bloody nose, broken nose, eyes watering. If nothing else, it causes this reaction. That might be all we need. Okay, because again, our main goal is just to get away. Somebody comes up and grabs us or something like that, boom, that palm heel goes straight to the nose. He can bet if he's going to stop at least for a second, then there's going to be opportunity to get away. Alright, so again, we're in our ready stance. We could use our front heel. If we do front heel, we could actually do a combination of both. If we were being grabbed or something like that. But our back heel, to get a whole lot more power, just comes through, all the way through. Again, if we weren't doing COVID, I would also have to yell. I'm going to do that too. I'm not going to do that today. But you're just going to have that all the way through. If you want to borrow a pad and practice a little bit with your partner, you're welcome to do that. Make sure when you're holding the pad, you've got your hands under the little straps, and you're holding it up overhand. Don't hold the pad in front of your face. The partner's going to hit it. That's good. All right. Does anybody want to borrow a pad? Try a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it better to go first or second when you actually?
What's I say?
I think you're right hand. So that's my strong arm. So better to go that or this, that way.
Okay. Real quick, hang out real quick. Ladies, let me borrow you real quick. Question. Is it better, let's say you're right-handed? Is it better to go with right hand first and then your less dominant hand? Really doesn't matter. It's really going to depend on the situation. Let's say I am right-handed. I've got my right side front, but let's say he grabs my right wrist. All right, I'll take that. Okay, so I'm going to do my left. Okay? Or it could just be if the front hand goes first, cool. If my back hand goes first, cool. Really doesn't matter from a better standpoint. It's probably going to be just the one that I feel more comfortable with. For myself personally, I love hitting with my left hand. Love hitting with my left hand. So probably, I would do that because I know I'm going to have more power that way. I feel more comfortable that way. But if my left hand is somebody grabbing it or something like that, my right hand is my tool, then I'm going to use that one. Yep. All right. Okay. Go for it. Did anybody, are there people that want to have still? Did you get one? Yeah. All right. Go ahead and practice that. If you don't have that, Julie, want to check? Okay. Right up a little bit. You're getting, ladies, hang on. I know it's really funny looking. Totally there with you. So you're getting with the heel of your thumb, so that like the base of your thumb and kind of this sort of bottom part here. You're getting with the heel of your thumb, not your wrist. Also, try to think about you want to, whatever hand you're hitting, you want to try to do that other hand up. All right, we don't want to be like this, because then this hand is doing anything on your face. So if you try to hit us at the same time, you want to have both hands up. All right, keep on, come on. Alright, go to the different formulas that I saw around there. Alright, so, again, imagine scenarios where that could be your weapon that you could be using. This person was grabbing me or something like that, they're pulling me, and I just come, if he's pulling me, alright, I'm gonna use that, I'm going straight in. As he pulls me, that palm heel is going to hit me straight into his nose. It would be, so that happens a second. It couldn't even be, if he pulls me, it couldn't just be like, something in your shoulder, and pushing back, or knock down, something like that. Another really good target would be the throat. Oh, maybe not work with the throat, but I can do something else that will work with the throat. I can do a finger strike. So he pulls me finger strike straight into the throat. Again, if you've ever been, you can just accidentally, it doesn't take much to push on your own throat. That's uncomfortable, right? And again, it doesn't matter how big and strong the guy is, someone's going into his throat. That's going to cause enough damage, just a physical, automatic reaction. So you're going to have time to be able to get away. What's another target on the face would be good? Eyes. Okay, again, soft part, soft. You got that finger strike. If you're doing a finger strike, ideally you want to have your fingers are all tucked together really tight, thumb tucked into the side. Again, when you just kind of like when you're palm here, we pull it back, and tightens this part up. We push our fingers all together, thumb tucked in like that. It makes our fingers, makes them a lot harder. It's a striking surface. So again, you pull, going straight into the throat, going straight into the eyes. Sometimes people are, even the palm goes straight into the eyes, can be potentially good. People sometimes ask, well, what if he's got glasses on? Okay, even better. You just smash his glasses into his eyes. Sometimes, now, a lot of times when we talk about some of these sorts of striking techniques and striking sorts of things of, poking somebody in the eye or what they do, it sounds kind of gross. And a lot of times, especially if we're kind of thinking about self-defense, a lot of times we have to sort of think about sort of dissonance that we have, because we think of ourselves as nice people, for the most part, we just think of ourselves as nice people, think of ourselves as caring people. So the idea of physically harming somebody, even though they're trying to harm us, that can seem kind of a little bit uncomfortable, a little unpleasant to think about that. These are not things that you just use because you got annoyed at this person, they don't take the line, you just want an argument or something like that. Or just somebody comes up to you and just says something you don't like. This person is trying to grab you, pull you, take you someplace where you don't want to go, take you into a car, take you into an alley, take you into a remote location. They clearly have some sort of ill intent. You need to do whatever you need to do at that moment to be able to survive that situation. So you have every right to defend yourself. Even if it seems kind of gross, kind of mean, kind of good, you have every right to do that. So let's finish on talking about our targets. So we've got eyes, we've got nose, we've got throat, we've got all soft spots. It doesn't matter how big, so let's say maybe he's even like a lot taller than me. I can still reach the throat, we teach, we'll do the next strike, we'll do here in a second as a hammer fist. We teach little kids, if they have like an adult who's coming in very young, to reach out and do a hammer fist, you can still a lot of times reach the nose, so even if they're taller, you can still get it. What's another soft target? Right, okay, right. Now, the one thing that I would say about that is a lot of times you'll hear people say, oh, all you have to do is just kick out, that's it, end the game. Not necessarily. It is a good target, it is a very valid target, but you can't just assume that, oh, one kick and that's just going to do it. But it's certainly a valid target. The last thing that I want to point out is a good target is actually the knee. Not necessarily soft, but it's a really poorly designed part of our body. So if you think about if you've ever had any sort of knee problems or anything like that, it doesn't take much pressure to make the knee buckle. So kick a stomp to the side of the knee, just naturally makes you do this. You certainly could kick to the front of the knee too, if you get the knee to kind of buckle back. Again, all we're looking for is just something to be able to give us the opportunity to be able to get away. So we've got eyes, nose, throat, groin, knee. All right, those are kind of some of our best targets. Anything goes in self-defense, not like, oh, don't hit him in that knee. Anything goes in self-defense, but those are kind of some of our targets that are going to be the best places for us to strike if we can. Yes?
And you can kick them in the front of the kneecap,
You could.
or is that like not that effective? Is it more effective from the side?
It's going to be more effective from the side just because since the knee, just because of how it's designed, it's a lot easier to get it to just kind of buckle that way. Also with the bottom of our foot, we're using our heel, again, hard part of us, so we get softer part of them. We're less likely to hurt ourselves. If I kick him in the knee from the front of my foot,
Yeah.
I push it. That's not as hard on me. I might be more likely to hurt myself. But it's if that's what you have. If I were in that position and I wanted to do a front kick instead of the knee, I would just go straight to the ground.
Oh, yeah, so you can just go up.
Yeah, but hey, if we're in a situation and that's what I hit, fine. That's good too.
Right, okay.
The shins are also really good. Again, I'll learn myself, but like if he's behind me and grabbing me, and I can take my heel and scrape down his shin, that's really good. Yeah, or just kick back on the shin. Yes.
A lot of times when I'm Teresa and I think professional job would be late at night and then this is suit and heels.
Yes.
You're sorry, what do? Take your time, take your shoes off, you can't do this in heels.
Right. So a couple of things. Number one, again, getting back to what we do on a regular basis to keep ourselves safe. You might think about not wearing heels when you're walking to your car or if you're walking the train or doing whatever. Having your more practical shoes that you can wear, and then when you get to where you're going, still on your heels. That's not always practical, that's one option. The other piece of it is probably not gonna have time to take off your shoes. If this person is grabbing me and pulling me, I'm probably not gonna have that time to take off my shoes. On the other hand, the flip side of that is a high heel is a really good weapon. I used to just grab me, stomp straight down to the top of his foot. We think about stomping the toes, that hurts. But if you stomp more towards where the shoelaces are, right on the top of the foot, you've got this heel, that could be really good, or a heel back to the back of the leg, that could potentially be a good weapon. There are a lot of things about, that's a whole different discussion, there's a lot of things about how we expect men to dress that inhibits our ability to effectively defend ourselves. If you think about a skirt, and it's a little bit restrictive already, and high heels and things of this nature, and then you're in a situation where you have to physically defend yourself, it is a challenge. So it just kind of, my recommendation would be to try to have a way to where you can put the heels on when you get to where you're going, but they could still be used as well. Yeah, sure. Any other questions? All right, cool. All right, so the next strike we're going to do is what we call a hammer fist. Everybody has sort of their favorite. I love the palm heel, especially since you're already in your red stance, you're already here. So the palm heel is just kind of natural. You don't have to spend any time on anything. You just go straight forward. That palm heel is right there. So I like the palm heel. Some people don't like it. Some people like the idea of having a fist. That's cool too. Again, we're not going to do a punch. So we're not going to punch with our knuckles. We're going to be punching with the back of our hand here. First off, lesson 101 on how to make a fist. Everybody put your hands up, curl your fingers, and then wrap your thumb on the outside. Not up like this, because then your thumb's poking out around the outside, around the front of your curled up fingers. Alright, you want to do that for a couple of reasons. Number one, we don't want our thumb poking out like this. So if I go to hit somebody, I can't jam and break my thumb. That's not good fun. You do not put the thumb on the inside. A lot of times people go to really because I'm protecting my thumb, you're more likely to place your thumb. If you do that, you want your thumb on the outside corner around like this. But we're hitting with this part of our fist instead of our knuckles, so it's called a hammer fist. It's kind of like a hammer. Right? Again, he's grabbing me. Here's the ball. He's grabbing. Boom, straight to the nose. Could also be if you were behind me, hammer fist, boom, straight back to the groin. Right? It could be straight back to the face. It could be straight to the throat. Basically, this becomes our weapon. Right? Another thing. We're talking about like mace and pepper spray and things like that. I just want to give a little bit of a plug for other possible weapons that you can carry with you. These sorts of things are called coupons. You can get these on like Amazon or anywhere from like the next piece. These are your weapons. I know they're a lot of times they'll be on your keychain. My caveat about having something like this in your keychain is that then if something happens, your attacker grabs or something like that, you go to fight, there's a struggle, you drop that, now you don't have your weapon and you don't have your keys either. So being able to get out of that situation. So if you were going to carry something, I would recommend carrying it separate from your keys. Hold the keys going out to your car, hold your keys with you, and you're now, so they usually come out like a keychain like this, but it's meant to be. This one's just really nasty. This one's just a hard-leaded. But think about it, if you're making that hammerfish, you're carrying this in your hand, somebody comes and grabs you, boom, this striking even anywhere, right? Even if it's your chest or something like that, that's gonna hurt. Okay? So that's one possible weapon. There are also things. These are some of my favorites because I think they're just fun. These are called tactical pens. So they're literally pens. Okay, literally they're right. This one I really like because it looks just like a pen. But they're made out of very hard metal, so they're not going to snap and break. And they're meant to be used as a weapon. It's the same thing. You can have a pen, you can carry it with you on a daily basis as a pen. Carry your backpack if you're at school or whatever. But then you can pull it when you're walking to your car or walking to the library or whatever. Just carry this in your hand. It's right there. Boom, you can use it as a weapon. The disadvantage to things like this is that you don't have to be this close. All right. Another option. That's called a tactical flashlight. Same concept, you could use it as a weapon, but it also has an extremely bright light on it. I'm not going to shine your face, but it has an extremely bright light. So if I were to shine it, so somebody's going to walk home or something like that, or my car, somebody's walking a little bit too close to where I think I like it. This shining in your face is going to blind him enough, but again, it gives me a little bit of, first of all, being able to see him, see what's going on. Also gives me a little bit of a deterrent to be able to block his sight, so maybe that distracts the moment and I can get away. So tactical flashlight, I really like, especially again for ladies going off to school and things like that. It's something you can just carry in your backpack and store in your pocket. Purse, just always have that with you. So just a couple of thoughts about that. Okay, so hammer fist. Make sure you're going to do the whole. So hammer fist, again, this could be either nose or our right stance. Make that fist, be front fist, back fist. Back fist, I'm going to be able to get a whole lot more power. I'm going all the way through. Again, turning my hips, getting my hips into it. Going all the way through. Try when you do this, and everybody did a really good job last time. Try. We're not just like patty kicking on the pad. I'm hitting all the way through that pad. All right, go ahead, practice that a little bit more. Let's start And now this time, I want you to, that hammer first, I want you to do it straight down. Make a twist, and kind of even sink just a little bit. How about it? I just want you to feel how much power you have to do that. With that other end, I press twist. There you go. You guys are actually going to class on with this, guys. I said kind of as a joke before that it's just fun to things. It's fun. And part of what I really like, having the opportunity for everybody to be able to practice this, is again, nobody in here said that they've never done any martial arts before, so you don't have like all that experience that you're like, oh yeah, I know all about how to do this, good deal. These are brand new things that you're doing, so maybe some of the folks are taking a little bit of self-defense classes. These are all brand new things that you've never been exposed to before, that you all are doing this class really hard. Again, imagine if somebody is trying to, my goal, if he's attacking me or trying to grab me or something like that, my goal is not to beat him up. Right? I don't want to stay there long enough to beat him up, get him in a fight, get him on the ground. That is not my goal. My goal is just a couple of quick fast strikes so that I can get out there as fast as I can. That is my sole goal. So it doesn't have to be the strongest, absolute most amazing hammer fist in the world. If it's just a couple of quick to his nose, he's not going to just be standing there like, oh yeah, that's fine. You know, he's going to, there's going to have to have some sort of physical reaction if somebody's hitting you with fists to the nose. And all I need is a little bit of reaction so that I can get away and get out of it. All right, that's all it takes. That's all we're going to do. All right, so if I'm nervous, we talked a little bit about the finger strike. I won't have you practice that on the pads because I can actually put a little bit on the pad. It's kind of hard. But again, our fingers are just real close together, thumb tucked in, finger strikes to the eyes, could be to the throat. It could be to the nose, that's a little bit wrong. Finger strikes. All right, next one we're going to do. Next one we're going to do. Real quick, ladies. I didn't say we're going to do fists. Sometimes, a lot of times we might have fingernails. Sometimes people are like, well, I can't let them make a fist because I have the nails. If you can't, curl your fingers, just kind of lay them flat, so distracted, come around. So you can still do that. The thing about fingernails would be a really, really good weapon, right? So if this person's attacking me, maybe it's not even a hammer, maybe it's just a, eye gouge, just nails down the face. It would be a really good weapon. So those are still really good. All right, next we're going to do elbow. So our elbows are the hard part of us that we can use to hit soft parts of us. This one's a little bit trickier, but when it works, it's awesome. So again, I make our ready stance. I'm not going to do it literally with my actual point on my hammer. I'm not doing that. I'm hitting more with my forearm if I'm going forward. So I'm hitting kind of this part. So my arm is bent. I'm putting through, hitting crossways like that. So this would be, if you were like grabbing onto or something like that, that's an elbow just all the way across the face, pushing across the jaw, pushing the nose, something like that. So if you're practicing with the pad, as the person throwing the elbow is throwing that elbow across, pad motor training, just swing the pad back a little bit so you're going to be so you're getting a little bit of resistance. So in here, I'm coming through like that. The elbow, guys, can go any number of ways. If he's behind me, you go this way. If you were behind me, the elbow will go up here to his face. If you go down here to his stomach, if you want taller, and you go to the groin, you go up under the jaw, the elbow will go all over the place. All right, so practice that one just a little bit. We'll see how we do that. Well, we're gonna go through two more just real quick, and I'm gonna get these two songs started. So next one, we kind of made reference to a front kick before, so we're talking about a lot of hand and elbow and arm sorts of things. We also have our legs, another really good kick. Front kick, best target for this is just like we talked about before, just that guard kick. If it ends up hitting the knee instead, okay, that's fine. But, generally speaking, somewhere down low. Sometimes people practice this and they're like trying to kick all the way up to the head. I don't want to kick up to his head. I don't want to do that. Because if I kick up to his head and I'm just going to balance and I'm not proud, that's the last person I want to do. So if we're using a front kick, we're aiming waist or below. All right? Our hands are going to stay up because again, I'm in my right stance. My hands are going to start my face and face is trying to get me. I'm going to kick. I'm going to bring my knee is going to come up. So it's not a big, that's what I think. So I'm going to throw myself off balance. I'm just looking for a knee up, snap. That's all it is, just bring snap. Make sure, especially if you're using the pad, point your toes, kick into where your shoelaces are. Again, I don't want to kick with my toe, that's not hurt me. All right? I'm pointing my foot like I'm bellaring it, and then just snap. It can be our front foot, back foot, doesn't matter. Again, the target is the groin. If you've ever seen a guy react to even somebody at his groin, you get this sort of reaction. So just a quick to the groin and to the leather. All right? Okay, try that. And hold those pads like this. Remember the groin plate, one down. Just for time's sake, but the last one would be a knee. Again, another part of us. Actually, we don't have the big head. So a knee can be really useful, could be a upright shot as well. A knee is going to be, a front kick is really good if we're, a lot of the strikes we were doing before, like my hammer fist and finger strikes, are especially elbow. If he's already grabbed us, we're getting really, really close. Boom, there's that elbow, really, really close. From good to front kick, but I try I'm a little bit too close to my target. If I'm a little bit further away and grab me, boom, I've got all that distance from my front kick. I don't have to be right on top of him. But I can't really do a hammer fist from this far away. So depending on how close you are, and a little bit of what we use. And me is another one if you're really, really close. He's already grabbed onto me, maybe like, holding onto me tight. I'm just gonna grab that, my knee is gonna go up into either groin or stomach or whatever, something like that, and not to get that reaction, so that he's going back. All right, yes?
Okay, so my fear always in this one, not that I've done it before, but like, what if they grab you, like, by the leg? That's like, that's what I imagine would happen if you went like this, and you see it coming and grab you, yeah.
Right.
And then
So,
fall.
couple of things. So I get that question a lot, especially with the kick. People ask a lot of times whether they grab your foot or in. So the principle to this is that if something happens, if he grabs me or something like that, I'm not gonna be like, I'm not just gonna be struggling with him. Wait, okay, and then like giving him the opportunity to see that's going. The best self-defense has to be fast, immediate reaction. Okay? So if he grabs me, oh, sorry. If he grabs me, it's an immediate reaction to go straight into it before he has time to think, oh, this is coming. The reason that they grabbed you is they have already decided, they have script in their mind that they've decided this person's not gonna fight back. This is an easy target. I'm gonna be able to grab her, I'm gonna be able to blow her over here, I'm gonna be able to whatever. They're gonna script in their mind. They're not expecting you to fight back. So if you're fighting really quick, they're not expecting that. In any situation, I won't be everyone's. When I'm here, we can't see, for the most part, what my knee is really even doing. He's grabbing on me, he's focused on going on me. I'm just going with that, and he's just coming straight up, he can't see what's coming.
Right, so
You're not gonna fall back.
What's that?
You're not gonna, he's hanging on to you already, so you're not gonna fall back necessarily with that.
Right,
Let's go, you'll be able to.
Exactly. I'm not gonna throw any here, I'm not gonna throw any from here, okay? And I'm not gonna get closer to him. This is assuming he's already here, then fine. So that's off enough. Does that make sense? All right. Okay, we've got 20 minutes until left. I want to talk a little bit about scenarios. Or actually, no, wait, before I do that. I'll review. So our best tools in terms of our self-defense. We talked a little bit, this is being about intuition, being in touch with our body. That gut feeling that tells us that something is not okay. That gut feeling that tells us something is not okay is one of our best self-defense tools. All right? Book that I'll recommend called The Gift of Fear. If you want to have a seat, you can have a seat. The Gift of Fear kind of talks all about our intuition and what sort of gives us warnings and things are not okay. If something doesn't feel safe. This talks a lot about this. I won't go into a lot of detail, but you should read. If you're in something just doesn't feel right. Even if you can't put a finger on exactly why something doesn't feel right, still we tend to dismiss it. We tend to be like, well, something feels off in my body. I can't quite tell what it is. It seems really nice, but we should pay attention to that because if something doesn't feel right, something probably isn't right. Confidence highlighting. We talked about that already, about how we carry ourselves, how we're perceived. People are looking to target somebody, are looking to target somebody they think is going to be an easier target. The less confident you carry yourself, the less confident you are in how you portray yourself and how you interact with people, the more likely is somebody's going to target you. Situational awareness. A lot of you talked about that in the very beginning in terms of what you do in your daily lives. Situational awareness, and we talked a lot about always kind of looking around you, being aware of what's going on, looking for things that you don't expect. Looking for, if you're walking, so we talked about being on the path or riding running or something like that on the path. And if there's something that just strikes you as being out of place that you don't expect to be there, pay attention to that. Always being aware of what's going on all the way. The path, I always tell the story, I ride my bike out on the path. And so I'll come up on people and I'm always like, on your left, whatever. And I'm always amazed at the number of people with their earbuds in. Okay, so number one, they have their earbuds in. So I'll be like, on your left. And they have no idea. Or I'll call out them and they're like, oh my gosh, they have no idea that anybody is there. That's like, so I'm not saying that you should be walking around like this everywhere you go, being fearful. But you do always need to be aware of like, okay, who is where or who is around me at all times? Kind of doing a little bit of a spin every once in a while, just kind of checking and seeing, making sure you know what's going on behind you. Also being aware of what your resources are. It's not just about being aware of what the threats are, being aware of the resources. So if you're walking out to your car, one of the things that I do when I'm walking in my car, especially at night, I'm walking, like, I'm walking outside Woodfield at night, I'm walking to my car, especially if I had to park way far away. I'm thinking, okay, not only am I looking around me, what cars are parked around me, is there anybody creepy looking around? I'm also looking, are there any families also walking to their car? Are there any groups also walking to their cars? Are there any other people? Is there a security, I'm all security guy driving around. So I'm also looking for what are the other resources if something were to happen, who could I maybe call out to, or who could maybe be a resource if something bad happened. Boundaries and voice. That is one of our best self-defense tools that we have as well. We talked about a lot of the things that we did today. I would normally be yelling like, no, get away, stop. I'd be yelling when we're doing these things. They've done studies that in cases where there were attempted assaults of people, women who just yelled and screamed got away like 60% of the time. That's all they did, they just yelled and screamed. So yelling and screaming in that sort of situation can be one of the best self-defense tools that you have. Again, people who are looking to do something bad, people who are looking to grab you, assault you, rape you, mug you, kidnap you, any of those sorts of horrible sorts of things, they're looking for somebody who they think is going to be an easy target. They're looking for somebody who won't put up a fight. You start yelling and screaming bloody murder, you are not going to be an easy target. And right away, it's possible that they might move on just because you're causing too much of a ruckus. They don't want to get caught. They don't want to deal with somebody who's going to be a difficult target. Boundaries also in terms, or voice also in terms of how we keep boundaries with people. We've talked a lot today in the kind of concept of what we're raising money for today. We've talked a lot today about things like kidnapping, child trafficking, all those sorts of things. The reality is the greatest threats in our lives are not to that stranger when we're out driving on the path or we're walking to our car or when we're out and some sort of stranger approaches us, creepy guy. That is not the greatest risk that we have. Our greatest risk is somebody that we already know. It's somebody who's already in our life. As close as a partner or spouse or boyfriend, it could be somebody in a family, it could be a coach, it could be a teacher, or it could be a neighbor, it could be a coworker, it could just be somebody that we have a casual acquaintance with. It's somebody already in our life that we already have some sort of relationship with that is actually the biggest risk to us. And that's both for younger people, for teens, for little kids, as well as for adults as well. That is our biggest risk. So when we talk about how to defend ourselves in those situations, because we don't want to think, okay, I'm going to walk around and everybody around me is trying to hurt me, we have to think about, okay, how do we set boundaries? How do we use our day-to-day life so that we can set those boundaries? People who cross those boundaries are the people we have to be concerned about. Even if they're just little boundary violations in the beginning of a relationship, people do something little, they think, well, that's not that big of a deal. A little boundary violation might not be a big deal, but the fact that they violated the boundary is a big deal. Right? Does that make sense? Yes?
How focused should you be on your phone when you're walking, say, alone at night? Like, because obviously you want to have it ready if you need to make an emergency call, but you don't want to be distracted with it. So should you have your phone at the ready when you're walking in a scary situation, or?
I think it wouldn't necessarily be bad. I guess if I were walking someplace that I felt really uncomfortable with, I wouldn't want to be on my phone. I wouldn't want to be texting. That would be absolutely normal. I wouldn't want to be texting, but I wouldn't be opposed to the idea of maybe calling up Scott and saying, okay, I'm walking my car now, just stay with me, and just having the phone there so that if something did happen, I'm going to talk to you right now. Well, there's nothing to talk to you right now, but I just want you there so that, if something does happen, you're there and you can call the police right away.
There's a fine line between it being a distraction and a tool.
Right.
If you're, sorry, I was just gonna add, like, when I was in school, I still do this, so like, if you're walking home, FaceTime is great, if you just FaceTime like a friend or a boyfriend or a parent, because then they know, and they can even see on the camera where you are, like, there's just more signs, and then it's also loud enough so people around you can hear, oh, she's on the phone with someone. So I think FaceTime is good, if like walk home from the library at night, or anything like that.
Right. I think FaceTime could be a good resource. My own caution would be is you just kind of that fine line. You don't want them to think, oh, she's on FaceTime, she's going to pay attention to what's going on. But again, since we're not like, okay, FaceTime somebody, okay, I'm walking my car now, just be with me. And just, they're there, but you're watching what's going on around you. So I think that can be a good resource. Yeah. Any other questions about that?
Oh, no, I'm gonna ask about the boundaries.
Yes.
So when you're saying boundaries, when you set boundaries, are you verbally telling this other person that you have a relationship with, these are my boundaries?
It depends on the situation.
Or what do you?
You don't necessarily like, hey, nice to meet you, here's my boundaries.
Right, that's what I'm like, they crossed that boundary, but did they know it?
That might be a little bit much, but I mean, it kind of depends on the relationship. I think there certainly is a level when you start dating somebody or when you start meeting somebody, you talk about your likes and your dislikes. And if I say, I really hate it when people tell me, like my last boyfriend always tried to tell me what to wear. I always hated that. He would try to tell me what to wear. I've just told him what my boundaries are. Yeah. So part of that is kind of in the get to know process. Part of it is just if he does something, or it could even just be a friend. It could be a female friend or whatever. When somebody says something that violates boundary in some way, if you set that boundary, like maybe you have a friend that just always takes advantage of you. You just always feel like, they're always borrowing money and they never give it back. And saying, you know what, this is like the third time you borrowed $5 from me, I still got $5 back that you gave me last week. I really need you to, pay me back, and I'm not going to lend you more money. That's a boundary. So, and then if the next week they come back and they're, and if he says, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot, I didn't realize, whatever, okay, maybe good. But if the next week he comes back and says, I know, I said I was going to bring you money, I don't have it, I'm sorry, but could you just give me another $5? That person's just continuing to violate the boundaries. So it really depends. I mean, a lot of times I think it comes up as those boundaries get violated, which brings us back to kind of our gut and our intuition. Because sometimes it's just, you don't even know exactly what that boundary is until it gets crossed. Until you're like, I felt really, I didn't like it when he did that. What's going on? Oh, that's right. He said that my friends are really dumb. I didn't like it when he said my friends were dumb. Isn't that cool? And so, maybe then I know that that's a boundary that I'm not cool if he's insulting my friends. I let him know that, but if he still calls my friends stupid, okay, that's a boundary.
Speaking of boundaries.
Wait, hang on just a second.
Oh, yeah,
Sorry,
sorry.
I was just gonna say that I used to always tell my kids when they're adults now, but when they were young, that if you are ever uncomfortable with one of our friends or neighbors, a longtime family friend, it doesn't matter, somebody in the family, whatever, don't worry about feeling disrespectful in any kind. If you are uncomfortable with the situation, you do not need to worry about being respectful to that person in that situation. You either run away or you call us, we come get you, or whatever the situation is. Don't ever worry about being, disrespectful. As a child to an adult, you're teaching them respect. And I never wanted them to feel, if they were uncomfortable in a situation, that they had to worry about that.
So 2 things real quick, and then I'll get to you.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to leave some handouts at the end, and one of them talks a little bit about if you do have kids or you're thinking about how your kids be safe. It's got some tips, and one of them is exactly that sort of thing. You, as a kid, we always would work with kids and say, you have the right to say no to an adult. Maybe not mom and dad if they tell you but if an adult is making you feel uncomfortable, scared, or not safe, then you have a right to say no. If that adult is trying to get you to do something you don't do, and then yes, tell me right away. Same thing for adults. A lot of times, again, as women, we tend to want to be nice, we want to make everybody feel good, we want people to like us, and so sometimes it's hard to set those boundaries and say, you know what, you owe me $10 from last week, and you didn't pay that back, and I can't lend you any more money. That can feel, for some of us, that can feel a little uncomfortable. You might be like, oh, I just what's that?
Everybody doesn't need to like us.
Exactly. And so sometimes in order to set our boundaries, we have to be comfortable with the fact that sometimes people are not going to like us. If people don't like us because we set a boundary, that's not about us. That's about them. Yeah.
I was just gonna ask if maybe you could touch on say something about space boundaries, because I know I've heard sometimes the predator will maybe try to see how close they can get to you. Like I think the line at the grocery store, so maybe you could say something about that.
Definitely. So what we were just talking about is a little bit more kind of about emotional boundaries, but there are physical boundaries as well. And one of the handouts, and I will talk a little bit about this too. But one of the ways that, more of a stranger sort of scenario that somebody might approach you is that they're going to test your boundaries as well. Just like somebody in a relationship, if they're trying to maybe be, I'm disrespectful to you, or unkind to you, or you're abusive to you, they're going to kind of test your boundaries to see how far they can push you. A stranger, same sort of thing. They're going to see how far they can touch you. So test you. So if I'm out someplace and this guy, he's standing there, I'm like, okay, this guy comes up and he's like, okay, he's testing to see how close I'll let him get before I say, you know what, back up. He's testing some common sorts of things, hey, do you know what time it is? If you've ever been walking downtown or something like that, people come up to you, they ask you things like, hey, do you want to buy this? That sort of thing. They might just be trying to sell something, but it could also be just testing to see how close they can get to you. Somebody's coming up asking you what time it is, or do you know how to get to the whatever. It's okay to say no. I don't know. Well, yeah, exactly. I think the whole thing, that's a whole extra level of, we talk about distancing, and now it's like, that's not 16. So there's definitely, so yes, that is one of the ways if somebody is trying to see how close they can get to you, just trying to creep into that space is one of the things, one of the ways in which they will test. All right, so we just have a few minutes left. Are there any sort of like what if scenarios? Like what if this happens? What if that happens? What might you do? Yes?
What if someone's following you to your car?
Okay, all right, so I'm following you to your car. All right, so first off, we're being real aware of our surroundings. We're doing, okay, we notice that this person is following us for a car. So a lot of times, kind of, again, everything's going to depend a little bit on the situation. It's going to depend a little bit on how close they are. If they're, far enough away and the car is close enough, just get to your car as quickly as you can, get in your car, lock the door, drive off. One of the safety tips sometimes we care about is that women have a lot of tendency to get in their car and then maybe they check their phone. If you're feeling threatened at all, get in the car, lock the door, drive away, go check your phone later. If they're close enough to you, if you have that flashlight, possibly using that flashlight, just gonna shine. It's a lot of times people worry, well, if I make eye contact, if I have some sort of interaction, it's not going to invite more contact. If this person's following closely, kind of like we were just talking about that space, this person's following really closely, I would probably turn and be like, hey, back up. And if he's just like walking to his own car, he's probably going to be like, oh, I'm sorry, didn't mean. If he's a decent guy, he's just going to back off and walk away. But if he's not, if he is literally trying to follow me because he's up to something, and I'm like, hey, back up. Yeah, I said back up, back up! Okay, and then those strikes that I just did because he wasn't backing up. Okay, and then get to my first cuss again. Also, again, looking around at those resources, what else is around? If I'm walking my car and I'm feeling uncomfortable because this guy's following me, is there anybody else around? Or do I notice that, okay, there's somebody else right over there? I'm just going to beeline it to wherever that person is. And if he wants to follow me wherever that person is, okay, now there's two of us, Or maybe I'm walking my car and I notice this guy's following me, but the door to the store is actually right over there. Maybe I just go back, maybe I just make a beeline back to the store.
Enabling your car alarm.
Possibly, yeah, if your car alarm, you do that, yeah. If I've got my phone with me or something like that.
If you're like me, you've forgotten where you are.
Also, in terms of like walking a car, like especially in places like Woodfield or malls or things like that, the security officers, one of their jobs is to walk you to your car. So if you're feeling uncomfortable, you're going to your car, you're by yourself, it's nighttime, all my security is on the best road to your car, that's part of the job. Yeah.
One thing that I've done, like if I was in a grocery store or like a restaurant or something, because it's like not usually, but I felt comfortable like with this guy, like he just kept like staring me down or whatever. So I just like either like get a worker or like the hostess or whatever, and I just be like, hey, can you walk me out to my car, or like can you just watch me walk out to my car? They're usually like, yeah, that's fine.
Very good.
All right, any other what ifs?
Could you demonstrate again, if somebody approaches you from the back, what to do?
Yes, okay. So let's say, kind of one of the most typical scenarios that people think of is what we call a bear hug. Somebody comes and they grab your hair. Okay, all right, so somebody, like this.
You guys must have lots of fun.
Our sports people are like the weirdest people. And hit each other for fun and we're best friends. Alright, so somebody comes out and grabs you like this. He's not just coming to give you a hug. If somebody comes and grabs you like this, they're coming to try to grab you, take you away, throw you on the ground, toss you in the car, something like that. Alright, first thing that I'm going to do from this situation, as soon as I feel this, again, I'm not going to be like, okay, let's see what happens. Right away, hurry up. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drop my weight. Okay, because if you've ever tried to pick up a kid when they're like trying to play dead, they're just like laying there, they weigh 1,000 pounds. So I'm going to drop my weight because now it's going to make it a little bit harder for them to pick me up. I'm not going to just stay here because eventually the kid's going to be able to pick me up. But from here, since I dropped my weight, loosen up just a little bit. Since I dropped my weight, I'm not going to drop my weight straight like this. I'm just taking one leg, doesn't matter which, out to the side. Right? Now, what's this number here? I've got elbows, I've got hammer fists straight down to the groin. I'm just going to start throwing strikes as hard, as fast as I can, and his face opens up, and then we're going to have it.
Okay, so what if he comes behind you and he grabs you by the neck?
All right, so this is what's called an arm wrestle. Thing I have to worry about right now. Mask, this is awful. Thing I have to worry about right now is I can't breathe because he's got his arm around me. He has to come up. First thing I have to worry about is breathing. I'm not gonna try to muscle his arm off my neck, because he's stronger than me, that's not gonna work. I am gonna just reach up by his wrist, I can't do anything over here. By his wrist, just grab on, you know, just my fingers, and just, okay. Just pull it to my chest a little bit, so at least I can breathe, right? Now, if I just pull it, and I again, sink my weight, he tries to lift me up, I can still breathe, all right? At least his arm is not on my neck, right? So the same thing, so he pulls, he comes up, all right? Okay, breathe, drop my weight, and now what's open? Same thing as before, so I got nothing over here, so I'm not gonna go this way, I stepped out this way, but I'm just gonna start throwing elbows in the orifice, whatever I can do, and scream until he lets up enough, and,
Maybe stepping out to your weaker side, like when you go to, when you go to get that stance, step out to your weaker side, so you get that shoulder arm.
the where you step out to actually depends a little bit more on where he grabs me, because if I step out this way, I'm fighting his arm, okay, and then I'm kind of walking more into the shoulder, it's kind of counterintuitive, but if I go the direction of his arm, then I actually have a little bit more space in. And then I can start to, again, it doesn't really matter which is my stronger side, because even if you grab the other side, and this wasn't as strong, I'm throwing elbows, here, fisters, grind, it doesn't matter, I don't have to be super, super strong. It's just multiple strikes, elbow to the face, and you know. Did that answer that?
Yes, thank you. Because I would think that's the way somebody would definitely do it from behind.
The behind is what always scares me, that's why I sort of nightmare scenario. The other thing is really quick, is just a basic wrist grab, because that's kind of another thing, somebody might just come up, just grab your to pull you someplace, just a couple quick glances about this. First off, they're gonna pull, where I talked about before, maybe I just go with it, just straight in with one of those strikes. I'm always looking with the wrist grab, I'm always looking for where his thumb is, because that's where his grip is gonna be the weakest. So I'm just going to put a fist on my own fist, or around him, and I'm just gonna pull towards the thumb. If he's not holding on very tightly, if he's just kind of just holding on, he's able to do that. Maybe he's holding on really tight, I would do that, oh crap. Again, I'm not gonna just sit here and tug a war with him, so you can win that, all right? But what do I have still? What's that?
Well, you have your leg.
I have my legs, okay, so maybe that's crunky, maybe a couple of crunchies, maybe he just lets go right away, or at least I can pull out really quick. I was like, what else do I have? I got fingers, I got palms, I got nervous. I didn't nervous on his hand. I'm doing something so I distract him enough so that I can get out there. Same concept as we grab focus. Right? I don't have hands, but boom, I've got feet. Okay.
A lot of ponytails.
What's that?
A lot of ponytails. That's always good.
Ponytails, so this is actually really fun. So if they come up and they grab on, hang on just a second. If they grab on the ponytails, pull ponytails, or you just grab on the hair, pull back. This one, this is just fun practice. So here, because you're here, as he pulls, all I do is I just turn, boom, strike right into his groin, elbow into his face. If they're pulling on the hair, like they just grab a whole chunk of hair, just reach up, grab, pull back on your hair, because then that doesn't hurt. Again, I'm not going to sit here for forever, because I think that's going to at some point, but I'm just going to turn, boom, boom, and just pulling out into it.
Wait, so you're pressing down on his hand so that it's not like yanking?
If he's like holding on, like, if you've ever had somebody pull your hair and it hurts with that, if you just reach up and like clamp down and push back, then that doesn't hurt at that moment, and then you can turn it into your back. If he's just grabbing on my ponytail, that doesn't hurt all that much, I'm just gonna go with it. Yeah. The other one is. So we're going to do just a quick closing exercise, really fast. Scott's going to, by the front desk up where you have the releases, he's going to lead by the whole handouts. And one thing another mention is kind of like if you have kids, then you want some tips on sort of how to help your kids be safe. He's going to leave a handout with that, and then there's another handout that kind of goes over some of the stuff that we went over in terms of boundary setting. Goes into a little bit more detail, and then there's also some stuff that talks about the script of an attacker, or how attackers generally have a script in mind of how they want things to happen, how they expect things to happen. And gives you sort of some things you can do with different steps of that script to interrupt that script and then an opportunity to get away. All right, so real quick, we went around the beginning. I want to go around just one more time, just kind of sort of give ourselves a little piece of empowerment. I just want you to have a cheat sheet. Here's a bunch of different words. Hopefully you can see them a little bit, not you can make up your own. But I just want you to go around, I just want you to say that I have the right to protect myself, and I am, and just insert one of the words that you feel like you are. So I believe that I have the right to defend myself, and I am powerful. All right, who wants to go first? Yes.
Wait, what was the?
I have the right to defend myself. I have the right to defend myself, and I am.
I have the right to protect myself, and I am confident.
Right?
I have the right to defend myself because I am great. I have the right to protect myself because I am strong. I have the right to protect myself because I am important.
Okay, you want to go?
I have the right to protect myself and I am smart.
I have the right to defend myself because I am confident.
Perfect.
I have the right to defend myself and I am important.
Perfect.
I have the right to defend myself and I'm capable.
Perfect.
I have the right to defend myself and I'm trustworthy.
I have the right to defend myself because I'm independent.
I have the right to defend myself. I am determined.
I have the right to defend myself and I am, it's really.
That's right.
I have the right to defend myself because I am empowered and I deserve it.
Awesome. All right, so thank you very much for coming today and for raising money for the cause. And there are handouts out at the front. Feel free to take those as they apply to you. There's also my business cards up there. Feel free to take that. And there's a little flyer on services. Again, if you have any, I'll be here for a few minutes. If you have any questions, you didn't get to bring us during class, feel free to ask those. I don't know, did we want to take a picture or something, or do you want to take a group picture? I know we talked about it. Everyone else.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to try to take a socially distance.
Can we do some type of socially distance?
I'm very bad.
That's good.
Everyone just stand up.
You need some down?
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Ryan needs to stand on the chair.
Yeah, some of us will, maybe some of us in the front and kneel down.
There you go.
Maybe we should do like one of these or one of these.
All right, 1, 2, 3, put their hands in the air and say, let's go.
Let's go.
Profound.
These are all mine.
We tell them the eye. All right, we can tell. All right, guys, also, we would love to offer you guys a free 30-day trial with my fitness club. You guys are interested. So if you are interested on the way out, go ahead, come by, we give you a card, we give you information, you can also set up for a 3-day free trial. We do small group personal training. So if you're interested, let me know.
Thanks,
I'll be over here by the door, let us know.
Thank you so
You guys all
much.
set
That
up?
was amazing. I'm like, I wish we had more time. There's so much more. You're always very good. Yeah, I'm on your friend. So I'll definitely be in touch. I'd love to. For sure, man.
Thank you so much. Great job. Thank you so much. We'll do a quarterly thing.
That'd be awesome.
Keep it up.
That'd be awesome.
All right. Awesome.
Especially once you
Yeah.
are able to do some physical stuff again. There's
Right.
a lot of
Exactly. Yep. For sure. For sure. Let's keep in touch.
That'd be awesome. Do you have maybe a business card? Or?
Yeah. Well. Yeah. If you don't have it, give it to me. Just give it to me.
Okay.
I'll take it care.
I've done it before.
Thank you.